The Chicago L, short for elevated, is the rapid transit system serving the city of Chicago and some of its surrounding suburbs in the US state Illinois. Operated by the Chicago Transit Authority (CTA), it is the fourth largest rapid transit system in the United States in terms of total route length at 102.8 miles long as 2014, and the second busiest rail mass transit system in the United States after the New York City subway. In 2016, the L had 1,492 rail cars, 8 different routes and 145 train stations. The L provides 24-hour service on the red and blue lines and is one of only 5 rapid transit systems in the United States to do so. The oldest sections of the Chicago L started operations in 1892, making it the second oldest rapid transit system in the Americas after New York City's elevated lines. The L gained its name because large parts of the system run on elevated track. However, portions of the network are also in subway tunnels at grade level or in open cuts. The first L, the Chicago and South Side Rapid Transit Railroad, began revenue service on June 6, 1892, when a steam locomotive pulling 4 wooden coaches arrived at the Congress Street terminal 14 minutes later over tracks that are still in use by the Green Line. Over the next years, service was extended to 63rd Street and Stony Island Avenue, then the transportation building of the World's Columbian Exposition in Jackson Park. In 1893, trains began running on the Lake Street Elevated Railroad, and in 1895 on the Metropolitan West Side Elevated, which had lines to Douglas Park, Garfield Park since replaced, Humboldt Park since demolished, and Logan Square. The Metropolitan was the United States' first non-exhibition rapid transit system powered by electric traction motors. 2 years later, the South Side L introduced multiple unit control, in which the operator can control all the motorized cars in a train, not just the lead unit. A drawback of early L service was that none of the lines entered the central business district. The Union Loop opened in 1897 and greatly increased the rapid transit system's convenience. Operation the Yerkes-owned Northwestern Elevated, which built the North Side L lines, began 3 years later, essentially completing the elevated infrastructure in the urban core, although extensions and branches continue to be constructed in outlying areas through the 1920s. After 1911, the L lines came under the control of Samuel Insull, president of the Chicago Edison Electric Utility, now Commonwealth Edison. Insull instituted many improvements, including free transfers and through routing. He also bought 3 other Chicago electrified railroads, the Chicago North Shore and Milwaukee Railroad, Chicago Aurora and Elgin Railroad, and South Shore interurban lines, and ran the trains of the first 2 into downtown Chicago via the L tracks. This period of relative prosperity ended when Insull's empire collapsed in 1932, but later in the decade the city, with the help of the federal government, accumulated sufficient funds to permit eventual replacement of the loop elevated. The construction of the subway created the necessity to tunnel under the Chicago River. The State Street Subway opened in October 17, 1943. The Dearborn Subway, on which work had been suspended during World War II, opened on February 25, 1951. The subways were constructed with a secondary purpose of serving as bomb shelters. The CTA introduced fare cards for the first time in 1997. Rail service to the O'Hare International Airport first opened in 1984, and to the Midway International Airport in 1993. 1993 was also the year when the CTA renamed all of its railways. They are now identified by color. Later, after assuming control of the L, the CTA introduced AB Skip Stop service. AB Skip Stop service debuted on the Lake Street Elevated in 1948, and the service proved effective as travel times were cut by a third. By the 1950s, the service was used throughout the system. Under this service, trains were designated as either A or B trains, and stations were alternately designated as A stations or B stations, with heavily used stations designated as both AB. A trains would stop only at A and AB stations, and B trains would stop only at B and AB stations. The system was designed to speed up lines by having trains skip stations while still allowing for frequent service at the heavily used AB stations. On April 28, 1995, the last of the AB skip-stop system was eliminated with the conversion of the O'Hare branch of the Blue Line and the Howard branch of the Red Line to all-stop service. The removal of skip-stop service resulted in some increases in travel times and greatly increased ridership at former A and B stations due to increased train frequencies. The first air-conditioned cars were introduced in 1964. The last pre-World War II cars were retired in 1973. New lines were built in expressway medians, a technique implemented in Chicago and followed by other cities worldwide. The Congress branch built in the median of the Eisenhower Expressway replaced it, the Garfield Park L in 1958. The Dan Ryan branch built in the median of the Dan Ryan Expressway opened on September 28, 1969, followed by an extension of the Milwaukee Elevated into the Kennedy Expressway in 1970. As of 2014, Chicago L trains run over a total of 224.1 miles of track. Ridership has been growing steadily after the CTA takeover despite declining mass transit usage nationwide, with an average of 594,000 riders boarding each weekday in 1960 and 659,866 passengers in 2016. Due to the low flood in April 1992, ridership was at 418,000 that year because CTA was forced to suspend operation for several weeks in both the state and Dearborn subways used by the most heavily traveled lines. Growing ridership has not been uniformly distributed. Use of north side lines is heavy and continues to grow, while that of west side and south side lines tend to remain stable. Currently, with the exception of the red line and the blue line, all lines operate at all times except late nights. Prior to 1998, the green line, the purple line and the Douglas branch of the blue line also had 24-hour service. In 2015, the CTA introduced a new fare payment system called Ventra. Ventra enables passengers to purchase individual tickets, passes or transit value online, by smartphone or at participating retail locations. Ventra also works with CTA buses, Pace suburban buses and Metra commuter rail. Payment by a smartphone app, the Ventra app, or by a contactless bank card is possible. As of 2018, DL uses a flat fare of $2.50 for almost the entire system, the only exception being O'Hare International Airport on the Blue Line, at which passengers entering the station are charged a higher fare of $5. Passengers leaving the system at these stations are not charged this higher fare. Since 1993, airlines have been officially identified by color, although older route names survive to some extent in CTA publications and popular usage to distinguish branches of longer lines. Red line consisting of the North Side Main Line, State Street Subway and Dan Ryan branch. The red line is the busiest route with 234,232 passenger boardings on an average weekday in 2013. It includes 33 stations on its 26-mile route, traveling from the Howard Terminal on the city's north side through downtown Chicago via the State Street Subway, then down the Dan Ryan Expressway median to 95th Dan Ryan on the south side. The Red Line is one of two lines operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is the only CTA line that goes to both Wrigley Field and Guaranteed Rate Field, the homes of Chicago's Major League Baseball teams, the Chicago Cubs and Chicago White Sox. Blue Line consisting of the O'Hare, Milwaukee, Dearborn Subway and Congress branches. The Blue Line extends from O'Hare International Airport through the loop via the Milwaukee Dearborn Subway to the west side. Trains travel to Des Plaines Avenue in Forest Park via the Eisenhower Expressway median. The route from O'Hare to Forest Park is 26.93 miles long. The number of stations is 33. The Blue Line is the second busiest with 176,120 weekday boardings. It operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Brown Line and a Ravenswood Line. The Brown Line follows on 11.4-mile route between the Kimball Terminal in Albany Park and the Loop in downtown Chicago. In 2013, the Brown Line had an average weekday ridership of 108,529 passengers. The Green Line consisting of the Lake Street Elevated Southside Main Line and Ashland and East 63rd branches, a completely elevated route utilizing the system's oldest segments dating back to 1892. The Green Line extends 20.8 miles with 30 stops between Forest Park and Oak Park, Harlem Lake, through the loop to the south side. South of the Garfield station, the line splits into two branches, with trains terminating at Ashland 63rd in West Englewood and terminating at Cottage Grove 63rd in Woodlawn. The average number of weekday boardings in 2013 was 68,230 passengers. Orange Line or Midway Line. The 13-mile long Orange Line was constructed from 1987 until 1993 on existing railroad embankments and new concrete and steel elevated structure. It runs from a station adjacent to Midway International Airport on the southwest side to the Loop in downtown Chicago. Average weekday ridership in 2013 was 58,765 passengers. Purple Line consisting of the Evanston Shuttle and Evanston Express. The Purple Line is a 3.9-mile branch serving north suburban Evanston and Wilmette with express service to the Loop during weekday rush hours. The weekday rush hour express service continues from Howard to the Loop, running non-stop on the 4-track line used by the Red Line Wilson Station, then serving Belmont Station, followed by all Brown Line stops to the Loop. Pink Line consisting of Douglas Branch and Paulina Connector. The Pink Line is a 11.2-mile rerouting of former Blue Line Douglas Park branch trains from 54th Cermak in Cicero via the previously known Revenue Paulina Connector and the Green Line on Lake Street to the Loop. Its average weekday ridership in 2013 was 31,572 passengers. While still an extension of the original Douglas Park branch, the line ran to Oak Park Avenue in Berwyn, 2.1 miles west of its current terminal point. Yellow Line or Skokie Swift. The Yellow Line is a 4.7-mile 3-station line that runs from the Howard Street Terminal to Skokie Terminal in north suburban Skokie. The Yellow Line is the only L route that does not provide direct service to the Loop. Its average weekday ridership in 2013 was 6,338 passenger boardings. The Loop. Brown, green, orange, pink and purple line express trains serve downtown Chicago via the Loop Elevated. The Loop's 8 stations average 72,843 weekday boardings. The Orange Line, Purple Line and the Pink Line run clockwise, the Brown Line runs counterclockwise. The Green Line is the Loop's only through service, the other 4 lines circle the Loop and return to their starting points. The Loop forms a rectangle roughly 0.4 miles east to west and 0.6 miles long north to south. The Loop crossing at Lake and Wells has been described in the Guinness Book of the World Records as the world's busiest railroad crossing. The CTA operates over 1,350 L cars, dividing among 3 series, some of which are permanently coupled into married pairs. All cars in the system utilize 600-volt direct current power delivered through a third rail. The 2600 series was built from 1981 until 1987 by the Budd Company of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. After the completion of the order of the 2600 series cars, Budd changed its name to Transit America and ceased production of rail cars. With 509 cars in operation, the 2600 series is the largest of the 3 series of L cars in operation. The cars were rebuilt by Alstom in Hornell, New York, from 1999 until 2002. The 3200 series was built from 1992 until 1994 by Morrison Knudsen of Hornell, New York. These cars have fluted stainless steel sides similar to the now retired 2200 series. Currently, the newest series of CTA Rapid Transit fleet is the 5000 series. AC propulsion allows for smoother acceleration, lower operational costs, less wear and tear, and greater energy efficiency. The future train cars, the 7000 series, have been ordered. Each 7000 series railcar will feature LEDs 37 to 38 seats and is a hybrid of the 3200 series and 5000 series. State-owned manufacturer CRRC, Saifeng America, China Rail Rolling Stock Corporation, won the contract, besting the other major competitor, Bombardier from Canada, by $226 million. The contract requires 10 prototypes to be delivered by October 2019. If the rail cars prove to be acceptable, then full production cars would be delivered starting in October 2020 at a rate of 10 cars per month. Base order is for 400 cars and will be used to replace the 2600 series cars. If the CTA ordered the additional 446 cars, they would replace the 3,200 series cars. In Chicago, the term subways only applies to the State Street and Milwaukee Dearborn subways and is not applied to the entire system as a whole, as in New York City, where both the elevated and underground portions make up the New York City subway. Like other large and aging rapid transit systems, the Chicago L faces problems of delays, breakdowns, and a multi-billion-dollar backlog of deferred maintenance. The CTA is currently focused on eliminating slow zones, modernizing the red, blue and purple lines, and improving L stations. CTA rail cars have generally been secure and safe, but in addition to general security issues on the CTA, there were calls to improve CTA's emergency response and communications procedures. As of 2018, the Chicago Police Department, Public Transportation Unit and the police departments of Evanston, Forest Park and Oak Park patrol the CTA system. The CPD provides random screenings for explosives. In addition, the CTA has its own K-9 patrol units and has installed more than 23,000 surveillance cameras. Daily ridership is 728,643 passengers, average weekday in 2018. Annual ridership is 226.08 million of passengers in 2018. Top speed of the train is 55 miles per hour.